my project was on the Dominican Republic. So a couple quick facts about it. It's a small island country located in the Caribbean. It's roughly twice the size of New Jersey, and it has a total area of 48,670 square kilometers and about 1,300-ish kilometers of coastline. So the size of the labor force in the DR is made up of both women and men. The youth unemployment rate, ages 15 to 24, is about 20.6%. And the education expectancy for the Dominican Republic for women is 14 and 17 for males. The literacy rate for the DR is at a rate of 95% for the total population. So the biggest industries for the DR are tourism, sugar processing, gold mining, textiles, cement, tobacco, electrical components, and medical devices. Over 51% of the land in the DR is used for agricultural purposes. And some of the biggest exports for them are gold, medical instruments, cigars, low voltage protection equipment, iron alloys, extraction, and clothing. So one of the biggest industries for the DR is tourism. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, the country saw a decline in the amount of tourists that were visiting. So it was not the only export that was affected during the pandemic, but it lost nearly $7 billion in the industry because of the pandemic. So here we have the graph that shows extraction and tourism, the two biggest industries, and how that was affected during the pandemic. Next, we have some comparison countries. So in the Dominican Republic, the inflation rate is 33.78%, and the unemployment rate is 6.3%. In 2020. So once we shift to 2021, the unemployment rate went up 8.24%. So that was a problem for them. So when you compare that to Haiti, it doesn't look too bad because theirs is at 15.73. But then when you look at Honduras as well, that one's up there with them. And Ecuador, their unemployment rate's a little bit lower. So the biggest cause for concern for the Dominican Republic is the rise in unemployment. It increased by 2.11%. It's alarming how it's going up, and it's definitely contributing to the detriment of the economy. A potential reason for this rate of unemployment could be mothers taking time to raise their children or stay at home, as females make up the majority of the unemployed in the DR, ranging in ages 15 to 24. So the current rate of inflation is rising in the DR. It's gone up 0.7% in just 1 year. It may not be a major concern, as the jump hasn't been that drastic, considering the pandemic and external factors that could contribute to the unemployment rate. As I mentioned earlier, the unemployment rate could be potentially caused by the females that make up 27.9% of the total unemployment rate compared to other countries like Haiti. The unemployment rate is okay, but the spike of 2% in 1 year is alarming for the country. Let's take a look at the economic growth. So the economic growth for the Dominican Republic compared to that of last year isn't too bad. When you look at the other countries, we're kind of climbing up there pretty steadily. So for monetary policy, one policy that the country put out was lowering interest rates. This is expansionary because it encourages people to borrow and put money back into the economy. So when that happens, GDP increases, unemployment decreases, and inflation increases. Looking at the fiscal policy of the DR, the country has increased taxes on general consumption. This category makes up 35% of the tax paid because there's a large chunk of the population that are tax exempt because they're minimum wage employees, have a lot of deductions, or evade taxes altogether. They needed to raise the tax because taxes were not getting paid. So this decreases inflation, unemployment, and GDP. When we look at their trading, they trade to their top three trading partners are the United States at 51%, Haiti at 7%, and Switzerland at 7%. The United States is the largest trade partner because they buy the largest amount of medical equipment from the DR. The Dominican Republic is part of a trade agreement called CAFTA. This involves 5 Central American countries, the DR, and the United States. This benefits the country entering a free trade agreement with its neighbors and the largest trade partner. It's very beneficial for the DR. It allows them to trade freely with these countries. So some of the biggest imports for the DR are petroleum, cars, natural gas, jewelry, and vaccines. And the biggest exports for the DR are gold, medical instruments, cigars, low voltage protection equipment, and iron alloys. So the trade pattern for the DR makes sense because the largest trade partner being the United States is primarily importing medical goods from the DR. They do have comparative advantage in creating these tools because of the natural metals that are found in the earth at the DR. And they currently have no sanctions on any countries, nor are there any sanctions imposed on them by any countries.